check one. 1, 2.
Good morning, Unity Spiritual Center Spokane. Welcome to our live streaming this morning. Our mission statement is transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in our world. We welcome you to our Sunday morning service. We begin each Sunday morning service with affirming together our foundation principle. I'll say it once and invite you to speak it with me. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Together? There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. All right, it's some news that we can use.
News we can use. This is the last week that you can sign up for the chaplain training, the online training. It starts next Saturday. And if you are at all interested in becoming a chaplain or even learning more about what it is, and feel free to join us for that training. You can register in the e-news update on Wednesday. And there's many ways you can serve as a chaplain. It's not just one thing. That you could participate in the wellness calls, you could be on the prayer team, you could hold sacred space and pray with others, visit people when we can again, or call them in the hospital. Or as a shut-in. There's lots of ways that we can spread our unity, love, and caring. And if you're at all interested in pursuing any of that, please feel free to join us. We'd love to have you. Also, E.J. Niles has already had her first class in her 5-class series on spiral dynamics. And there were several people who didn't get in for that first class, so she's actually going to redo it at some point. But you can still join us for any of the others. There's 4 more classes, and they are all standalone. So please check that out as well in the e-news.
Also, we want to mention that Amber McKenzie is going to be facilitating an online Q process training in October 22nd, I believe it starts. That's a Wednesday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And if you're interested in that, so you need to register, go on to our website and register online. And there is a special discount for Unity members. And if you're returning, and in other words, you've taken the Q process before, there's also a discount for you as well. You want to register early so that you can go ahead and order online your Q process workbook, which is an integral part of the training. Also, in addition to that, I'm going to be facilitating an online webinar on medical cannabis and how seniors, especially since the baby boomers are the largest demographic of those who are right now using medical cannabis. I'm wanting to share a little bit about my journey as well as provide some interesting information that might be useful along the way. So that's stay tuned for information about that. That'll be in October and on the 10th and at 10 a.m. So that's what?
10/10/10, 2020.
2020 should be easy to remember. All right, well, we have some music this morning from Sean and Tani, Sacred Love, and then a little while later we'll be hearing from the choir, and so here we go with Sacred Love.
Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, God. Sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are blessed peace. Blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace, child. Blessed peace is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are deepest joy. Deepest joy is all that you are. Deepest joy, deepest joy is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Show the way, God, show the ways. I want to live in such a state, in a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the ways. I want to live in such a holy place. Show the way, God, show the ways. I want to live in such a state, in a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the ways. I want to live in such a holy place. In such a holy place. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, God. Sacred love is all that you are. Sacred love is all that you are. Sacred love is all that you are.
Sacred love. Well, it's time now for our meditation experience, so I invite you to just settle into this moment, and as you feel comfortable, close your eyes, and let us begin to enter into an experience of oneness. And so as we prepare for meditation, let us begin to activate our heart center. And so you can just touch your heart to give that intentionality some meaning and purpose. So let's just begin by bringing our awareness to our heart space, and then beginning to deepen our breath, lengthening it, and just settling into this moment. So we're going to breathe in for the count of 5, and then pause, and then exhale for the count of 5. So breathe in, and rest, and release. Breathe in, rest, and release. Feel your shoulders drop. Breathe in. Pause. And release. And as you just straighten your spine, as you drop your shoulders, as you just allow yourself to be supported in where you are sitting, let's bring into our awareness now someone or something that carries with it the felt experience of gratitude or appreciation, care or compassion. So allow your awareness and your heart to bring into your mind's eye that special person, that fond memory, that cherished pet. Just feel into this moment. Our journey to the experience of oneness begins with opening our hearts, allowing ourselves to sense and feel into the present moment, establishing a resonant field of heart-centered coherence. And as we continue to feel into this present moment, allowing gratitude, appreciation, care, compassion to fill ourselves, fill our physical selves. And so let's imagine all the people who are a part of our spiritual cooperative, our spiritual community. Just imagine now from our hearts being extending and connecting. We'll begin with where we are right now, wherever you're sitting. Connect to the people in the room, in the space, in the here, as a part of the now moment. So feel yourself connected to one, to two, as if creating a network or a net. For our interconnection is our safety net, is our sanctuary. And so as we build this interconnected awareness, heart to heart, we expand this connection even further to sense and feel into the living presence of everyone. The living presence of everything. Feeling ourselves expanding into an infinite circle that encircles everything, everyone, everywhere, in all time. Let us feel ourselves a part of this oneness, a part of this whole, a part of this inner connection, this interbeingness. Just feeling into this present moment, continually visualizing and seeing in our mind's eye our connection, heart to heart, as a web, as a network. And within this network, there is the sending and receiving of love, of wisdom, of intelligence, of divine substance. As we feel into this moment, we feel a part of something so much grander than our own individual selves. And as we feel a part of something momentous, we are drawn into the awareness that we are an activity in Source, within the presence of God. We're a part of a movement of spirit that is seeking to bring forth into manifestation into this world, the light of love that dispels all that is unlike itself. And so let's continue in this imagining and feeling into the vision of oneness and interconnection, drawing from this infinite and eternal presence everything that is necessary and good, so that when we return to our world, we are not dismayed, but rather present. Present as one who is bearing witness to the birth, the awakening, the new dawn. And so we simply release ourselves now to this movement of spirit that transcends any outer limitation or situation, but rather enables us to move in the world and not be diminished by it, but rather a source, a presence, being the oneness that allows for what is possible to emerge, for what is necessary to find its way, for what is lasting to be revealed. And so as we continue to feel into this moment, feeling our connection to each other, a part of an interlocking web, as we feel a part of something bigger, something momentous, as we know that we are enfolded in God's love, that we're connected to the field of infinite possibilities, that we can feel into this present moment and find precisely what is needed without needing the outer evidence, without relying upon our ego's need for validation, for proof. But rather we can bring that sure and certain knowing to this now moment and then be a witness to the unfolding of spirit. And so let us simply now rest in the silence without a need to think, but simply feeling into the experience of oneness. Not thinking about it, but being it in the silence. Breathe in and release. Breathe in and release. Let us release ourselves from any need to worry. Let us release ourselves from any need to understand. Let us simply release ourselves into the care and keeping of that beloved Spirit that carries us into the expression of who and what we've come here to be. And for this we are grateful. Thank you, God. So it is. Amen.
This week we mourned the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, one of my personal heroes and role models. as she is for many of us, a shining example of someone who really walks her talk. And when she was asked how she wanted to be remembered, she said this: just as someone who did whatever she could, with whatever limited talent she had, to move society along in the direction I would like it to be for my children and grandchildren. In other words, being a good ancestor. This is the third and final talk in a series on being a good ancestor, and we are asking the question, what do I want to bequeath to the world? Last time we explored what we have inherited from our forefathers and mothers, and whether it be skin color, family traits and characteristics, beliefs, quirks, habits, and then on to the ancestral trauma and how that can be in play in our lives. And when I start considering all the healing that has to happen just in my own family tree, and then I multiply that by looking at racial trauma and all that entails, well, it can push me right into overwhelm and eclipse any desire I might have to make the world a better place, to try and make that happen. You know, it's hard to be a change agent in 2020. And this has been a particularly difficult week for me in many ways. And it's wearing on me. I can feel it wearing on me. I keep finding myself totally stressed out, filled with anxiety, stuck in separation. You know, whether it's trying to keep the church going during a pandemic and all that comes with that, or even trying to deal emotionally with missing my kids, my grandkids, wondering when I'll ever be able to hug them again. Or watching the unfolding of the political divisiveness and the violence and the drama. It all comes into play, and I learned a new word this week that pretty much describes what's been going on within me: batitude. And when I read that, I went, aha, that is pretty accurate description of what I'm dealing with here. And in that moment, just being able to step back from it was a very good first step for me to begin to work through it. Because in the midst of all of that self-created drama, I finally got to a place where I just stopped and remembered about this thing called divine love. You know, that ancient love that lives at the center of our being. And when I let fear and anxiety run the show, I managed to completely cut myself off from experiencing that love. I do that. No one does it to me. Divine love is always present, no matter what the situation. It never leaves. It's everywhere present. That means it's right here and it's right now. But I close the door to experiencing its comfort and peace when I let my mind run around in fear. When I try to change things by pushing and forcing instead of using the divine power within, power with a capital P. And I believe that this is the ultimate lesson in our journey of transformation. All that is swirling around us politically, all the violence, the pandemic, the feelings of isolation, loneliness, fear, the unrest, personal, interpersonal difficulties, financial challenges, whatever it is, any of that can be used in this moment to awaken to Spirit's presence, to feel the power of God, the peace that passes all human understanding. So what if coming to terms with our own fear-based thinking, realizing our contribution to the craziness around us, recognizing our particular egoic reactivity? What if becoming aware of it all can shake us into transformation? Can you imagine that? And perhaps that's the real key to discovering and stepping into our true power and allowing that power to take the reins. Because guess what? We can't do it without Spirit. We can't do it without source. And so we want to source, not force. And I'm not talking about the force, but the struggle that comes from trying to make things happen, from dealing only with the outer world, with fighting with whatever's showing up for us. You know, as it says in the Course in Miracles, truth never battles with illusions, illusions battle only with themselves. Those words never fail to remind me that I'm dealing with the mirror, that I'm shaking my fist at it, that I'm not using it to help me discover and activate the power of the greater mind that is within me. And it helps me to wake up to the fact that I've been trying to do it alone, forcing instead of going to source. And all that does is cause me more anxiety, more pain, more anger, more powerlessness, and then the true power that lies within stays locked up and unavailable to me. Words attributed to Jesus from the Gospel of Thomas say, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." And this works on many different levels. We need to heal our internal stuff, inherited or otherwise. If we don't, it stays unconsciously below the surface, causing way more havoc in our lives than if we bring it out into the light of day. So we have to start here. But then as we integrate the shadow, as we release the past, as we make peace with the limited identity that has been running the show, the truth dawns. There is now room for presence to move and to be expressed. And I don't know about you, but I could sure use a power greater than the circumstances around me right now. I read recently that the journey is not about becoming enlightened or a guru. It is first about unbecoming who you think yourself to be. And the Q process does that for me. A safe way to face the unhealed past, to integrate it, to stop replicating it. Worksheets have been and continue to be a lifeline for me as I've been dealing with all that is happening in my world. I did one this week. It was wonderful. And as you heard, Amber Mackenzie will be offering the online Q process in October. And I recommend anyone, whether you've done it in the past and have gotten out of the habit of using it, or if it's brand new for you, I invite you to join her for that and learn to use the process to help you deal with whatever's showing up for you, and to use it to find the gift that the heart will bring to your life. Because here's the thing, expressing divine love is tonic to the soul. It is as necessary for our psyche as food is to our body. And our global family desperately needs us to open to that deeper dimension and to express the truth of who we are and who we have come here to be. And so we work at it on a micro level as well as a macro level. Individual change inspires global change, but it takes work. Being a good ancestor is hard work. We have to deal with the ego. We have to deal with the critical voice, the insane roommate in our heads, And the work becomes integration of ego with soul. The critical voice with compassionate kindness. The insane roommate with spirit's voice. And so the goal is to heal the divide that is within us, the disconnection from the authentic self, the sense of separation from source. That is the first level of transformative change. It has to start here. The Russian activist Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote, "If only there were evil people somewhere insidiously committing evil deeds, and it was necessary only to separate them from the rest of us and destroy them. But the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being." In other words, I need to clean up the divide within me before I will see it out there, before I will see oneness reflected back to me. And if I make someone the enemy, I doom myself to separation and isolation. And I've been doing that lately. Every time I turn on the news, every time I blame someone for my discomfort, every time I beat myself up for thoughtless and unloving behavior, I reinforce the disconnect, the polarization, the us and them thinking, and I don't want to make passing that on to be my legacy to the world. So we need to heal our own timeline. Until we do, the ego is running the show. And when I look out at the world that is parading itself in front of me, I see one run by ego. A culture of separation from nature, from our fellow humans, between races, one of Western dominator society with racial, social, economic inequality, a culture of lack, blame that has resulted in great unrest and violence. So what if working with all of these things, what if dealing with the daily onslaught of fearful headlines is part of our awakening? A rather rude awakening. What if waking up to what is happening in our culture is an integral part of the shift? And instead of break down, it can now become breakthrough. What if the answer to healing our world hinges on us waking up to the divine love within us? You know, we have to discover and stand in the power of the greater mind in order to be a good ancestor. It is through the power of compassion, both for ourselves and others, that the world can change. And so many of us are stepping into the fire, saying, open my eyes to others' suffering. Help me awaken and find the power within. Show me how I can help. You know, we now have a group of people in our community who are exploring racism and how to be an ally to those who are hurt by it. And understanding what I have inherited from my culture is a big part of the work of waking up. For me, I see life through the eyes of a white woman. And what I have to learn and remember is, as Wade Davis writes, the world in which you were born is just one model of reality. Other cultures are not failed attempts at being you. They are unique manifestations of the human spirit. So what kind of a world do I want to leave behind for everyone, not just for people who look like me? How can I bring understanding and reconciliation in order to create a world where all have the opportunity to thrive? You may have heard of Jane Elliott. She was a third-grade teacher who helped her white students awaken to how it feels to be affected by racist policies. The day after Martin Luther King's assassination, the children asked her why he was killed, and she struggled to explain discrimination and racism, and then offered an experiment to help them understand. She divided the class by eye color, blue eyes and brown eyes. I think Hazel was in brown, I don't know, but she had the two groups. And then she assigned each group certain characteristics. The brown-eyed group was deemed the intelligent, superior ones, smarter and more civilized than those with blue eyes. And then she began talking to and behaving toward each group differently. She spoke to the brown-eyed students as if they had great intelligence. The blue eyes she spoke to in a dismissive manner, taking for granted that they just wouldn't get it. The blue-eyed children were very upset by the unfairness of her blatant favoring of the other group and her assumptions about their ability based solely on eye color. The brown-eyed group, well, they kind of liked it. One little boy said he felt like a king. Now, her experiment was not without controversy and backlash from the parents, but you have to admit, having someone experience prejudice because of the color of their eyes has the potential of waking up anyone who doesn't understand what it's like to be on the receiving end of racist policies and behavior. And she went on to become a diversity trainer, leading workshops on racism. She's very direct and pointed. You can find videos of her doing her work. She was on Oprah. She did it with Oprah one time. But she asked the question to the all-white audience, how many here would be willing to trade places with a black person? And when no hands go up, she says, not one of you. Then it seems as if we know there's a problem, even if we've chosen to close our eyes to others' suffering. And I've come to know that overcoming racism, helping others who are suffering, that kind of work is of paramount importance to attaining the next collective evolutionary shift. We are stuck in the cultural paradigm we currently inhabit until we do so. We all go to heaven together. That's how it goes. So what do you want to pass on to the world? What do you want to pass on to your descendants? The artist and activist Keith Haring died of complications with AIDS in 1990 when he was in his early 30s. And as he faced and made peace with his impending death, he wrote these powerful words: "I am not a beginning, I am not an end, I am a link in a chain." And it's an important link, every one of us. What do you want to link to? What do you want to connect to and pass on? What legacy do you want to leave behind? When I ask my heart that question, I never get the answer. I want to leave behind a fractured world of violence, inequality, hatred, and suffering. I don't want to pass that on. What do I want my descendants to inherit from me? Dysfunction, powerlessness, hatred, or humility, kindness, compassion, positive change? You know, we can't save this world single-handedly, but our individual choices matter. Either they contribute to or they detract from the realization of our culture's transformation. And this is a poignant time in our history. And where it goes from here, it's up to us. You see, in the unmanifested realm, both potentialities exist. A world that works for all and one that doesn't. And which one we bring into manifestation is our call. Things can devolve into anger, hatred, violence, or they can evolve beyond the vestiges of a dying culture into something new and glorious. But we have to find that same evolutionary pattern within ourselves as we help to usher in a kinder, more compassionate world. It cannot be brought into manifestation as long as that divide remains within us. And we have spiritual teachers who can show us the way. Valerie Carr, author of the book See No Stranger, writes that Buddha taught to practice unending compassion, Abraham to open our tent to all, Jesus to love our neighbors, Muhammad to take in the orphan, the Hindu mystic Marabi to love without limit. And she adds, they all expanded the circle of who counts as one of us. They all spoke of a common vision, of our interconnectedness, our interdependence. And that is the work. Oneness is always the answer. Healing the divide within us and experiencing the true reality of one presence being beamed through the heart, beamed through heart, every being on this planet. But a sense of separation, it dooms me to a life disconnected from the beauty and the sacredness of life, subjecting myself to constant self-judgment. One of my favorite instructors in ministerial school, Reverend Robert Brummett, wrote, I believe that much of the dysfunction and the depression that exists in our nation today is the result not of what is wrong with us, but rather what is right with us that has never been recognized and developed. If we bring forth what is within us, it will save us. So we want to use our triggering moments when we catch ourselves caught in beatitude to help uncover what is buried underneath, heal the divide, discover the greatness within. We have to find the violence within ourselves and heal it here. And of course, awakening like this, it's not always fun. In fact, sometimes it feels like ice cold water in the face. Or that horrible sound of the alarm clock ringing on a cold, dark winter morning when you would just rather stay under those nice warm blankets and go back to sleep. But we are all being called higher, called to learn more, to learn new things, to grow. And as we do, we will make mistakes. We won't always be perfect. We won't always take the high road. We will stumble and fall. But if we learn to use those mistakes, if we can allow every alarm clock moment to be a reminder to go deeper into the heart, if we sincerely ask Spirit for guidance, if we pour out our troubles to the greater mind while showering ourselves with self-compassion, self-forgiveness, what happens next is a beautiful rising up into the comfort, the strength, the majesty of interbeing. We can't leave behind a kinder world if we're not feeling that kindness toward ourselves. We can't give the world forgiveness if we don't forgive our own past mistakes. We can't gift a compassionate, safe life for all if that compassion and safety is not within us. And here's why. The world is mirroring what is in our psyche. And as James Twyman reminds us, thoughts are the ultimate buzzkill. And I don't know about you, but that is so true for me. And it does me no good to have my thoughts sink into depression and despair and guilt and self-condemnation, pessimism, blaming. That just compounds the problem. So we want to work with what's rising up from within us, meet it with compassionate curiosity, self-forgiveness. Doing this won't give you peace of mind. It will actually give you peace from mind. There's a big difference. Peace from mind. William Blake said, if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man and woman as it is, infinite. Our job is to cleanse those doors of perception, to heal the great divide within us, connect with the divine love in our hearts, and share that love with the world. And we need to do it now. The author and activist Andrew Harvey suggests that right now we are going through a global dark night of the soul. But, he says, we can use it as a strong call to presence. A strong call to presence. He tells the story about a man named Isaiah who was a Holocaust survivor. And when Isaiah was in the concentration camp, one day he had an experience of presence. He opened his eyes and in his words saw a sun not of this world had come out and was blazing glory all around me. The guard I hated came out of another building. He didn't see me, but I saw him, and this was the miracle. I felt no fear at all, no hatred, only a burning pity that scalded my eyes with tears. The thing, capital T, in me that was crying was stronger than anything or anyone I had ever encountered. It felt like a calm column of fire that nothing could put out. The doors of perception are cleansed through the power of presence. So let's not wait. Let's not wait for the next natural disaster or act of terrorism or tragic death to align our behavior with our inner knowing. Right now, let's step up to being an example of a world that works for all, a world in which everyone has the opportunity to thrive. The author L.R. Nost writes, "Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break, and all things can be amended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go, live intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you." The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you. So, if you have found yourself stuck in the buzzkill of anxiety, regret, remorse, self-judgment, blaming, throwing things at the television type of anger, in short, suffering with a case of batitude, remember the world awaits your light. Honor and meet those feelings with compassion, with kindness, just the way you would if someone came to you suffering and needing you to be present to them and to comfort them. Do the same for yourself and allow that to come forth. Then use the moment as a call to presence. Ask Spirit for help, for guidance, for understanding, for peace. Ask to be shown the majesty of oneness and to experience the glory of interbeingness. Ask to see it differently. And remember that separation is an illusion, and that illusions battle only with themselves. And finally, surrender to that mighty power within you and allow it to lift you up and to show you reality in all of its wonder. What you bring forth from within you will save not only you, but will help to bring forth a world that truly works for all. And so it is.
Wow. Tell you. So how was it to do a talk like this? This is quite quite exceptional. So I really love that that saying that, you know, if we don't use what's within us, it'll destroy us, you know. And so the challenge is that we know that we have to do this deeper work, but we're so drawn into the distractions and to the things that are filling the screen, and it's kind of one of those things where you know you're supposed to do something with this discomfort, but it's always there. It's like you can't get away from it.
Yeah, exactly. And the more stressed out we get, we sort of start up here, you know, and so we're already, you know, anxious, or we're already in this state, and then the next thing happens, and you know, we can explode, and it's really harmful. It's harmful to our bodies, our psyches, our relationships, our, you know, all of it, if we don't learn how to manage this internal experience of disconnect. It's just going to keep on replicating.
I watched a video yesterday about this doctor. She was talking about how these current times is like a collective trauma for us all. We're actually experiencing you know, trauma. We have to kind of be very clear that this is what's happening. We're in a kind of traumatic dynamic, and if we don't do the kinds of things that are really important to do when trauma hits our nervous system, we'll act out of that state. Dr. Joe says, whatever you do, you got to settle your nervous system first. And how do we settle our nervous system? Not by thinking more about dealing with what the situation is, but by really turning within and really settling. And that's something that doesn't necessarily rise to the level of, okay, I'm going to take time to do that. First, let me get all this energy out. And that's not necessarily always that helpful.
Yeah, the thing you want to remember is that the life cycle of an emotion is 90 seconds.
That's right.
Unless you suppress it, suppress it, and then it's a lifetime. And so we want to meet whatever's going on inside with compassion and kindness and curiosity, and allow it to happen in that embrace. And then when it goes through its life cycle, we can carry on with the work. But if we're triggered and we're, anxiety or something is running us, we just cut ourselves off from that deeper dimension. And man, do we need it right now.
Right, and we know that if we don't feel our experience, we create a story around the feeling so that we can interact with the experience, not with examining what's arising within us, but having a story. Now we have we have a place to source our discomfort. It's out there in the situation, or we talk ourselves into really sourcing our discomfort in some dynamic outside of us, instead of recognizing, no, there's something arising within me now that I need to pay attention to, because it's normal for me to feel this upset, this yuck in these times. But if we don't understand that it's arising, for us to really use it in a way that helps us disentangle from all the dynamics that are modulating us right now.
Yeah, it's a call to presence.
Call to presence. All right, well, we want to thank everyone for your support of Unity Spiritual Center, especially in these times. We've gone almost 7 months now without taking up a Sunday love offering, and it's finally caught up with us. And so we're really asking you all to consider your financial relationship with the ministry, and if it's within your capacity to support us, especially now in these times, we appreciate that as well. We want to now, who goes next to in the honor of Dr. Sledge, we're going to say together our offertory blessing. Let's stop this now. Okay, that's enough of that. All right, let's put that up on the screen. All right, so we're going to affirm together our blessing together. I know that my giving blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I give and receive. I give thanks for the abundance that is mine to share. I want to remind everyone that immediately following our peace song today, we'll have the Zoom meet and greet, so be sure and join us for that. Next is going to be a song from the choir, and then after that, Sean and Tanya will lead us in the peace song. But before we do that, first we're going to have the song, and then, let's see, do we have the prayer for protection? Yes, we do. We have this first.
All right.
So let us all stand And we'll say together in the affirmative our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And that's the truth. All right, now comes Sean, or the choir. Here's the choir.
And let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God our Creator, and the all-knowing. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be a moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn